Oh, how time flies when the world is on fire. It was but a blink of an eye since Volkswagen took a deep dive into the world of electromobility and launched its first electric model designed from the ground up, the ID.3. Today I'm reviewing the facelifted version of the compact EV. What has changed? Let's find out.
The Volkswagen ID.3 is a compact electric car, the successor to the e-Golf and the first of Volkswagen's range of cars on the MEB modular EV platform. Volkswagen decided to design a dedicated platform for EVs so as not having to deal with constraints of the internal combustion engine car's component layout or weight distribution or even weight alone. Hence, the Golf remained a Golf, and instead of the e-Golf, which would not take any more batteries, we have the ID.3, which can be spec'd in one of two battery capacities, 58 or 77 kWh net. Before the facelift, there was also a so-called pure trim with a battery capacity of 45 kWh. It is expected to join the facelifted range sometime in 2024. This shows how easy it is to offer different battery capacities within a single wheelbase length. Larger Volkswagen models with longer wheelbases may have even bigger batteries.
What has changed? That's a question even rocket scientists can't answer, because Volkswagen makes few visual changes from generation to generation, let alone from facelift to facelift.
Allegedly, the car has a sharper exterior design. I had to re-watch my pre-facelift model review to realize that the refreshed car has a smoothed-out bumper and no longer has a plastic hump on the bonnet. Perhaps the bump was supposed to improve aerodynamics, but I noticed insects were getting trapped in the gap between the plastic and the metal bonnet. And that's probably it as far as exterior changes are concerned. Dimensions are also the same. It's still more or less a Golf, but with a 15 cm longer wheelbase. That's one of the advantages of a platform designed specifically for EVs. You don't have to worry about the positioning of internal combustion engine or exhaust system, and the wheels can be moved as far towards the corners as safety regulations allow.
The boot, still 385 liters. There are shopping bag hooks, and this example gets a double floor, which was missing from the first edition, which I reviewed a few years ago. And if you do a bit of German origami, you can even drop it. Anyway, right behind the boot lip is some storage under the floor, just big enough for a charging cable, although in some ID models this compartment was occupied by a subwoofer. Oh, and the parcel shelf. It doesn't fit under the floor and it won't even fit on it, so that's that.
The materials inside are said to be of higher quality. I don't recall complaining about the interior quality in the pre-facelift model, but perhaps the price was so shocking at the time that customers expected a Passat rather than a Polo interior. Looking at the pre-facelift and facelift model shots, it's hard for me to say whether the differences in some of the materials are due to different equipment version or just higher quality. Functionally, there is no change. There is plenty of legroom in the rear, but headroom is modest. Batteries in the floor mean that the taller than Golf ID.3 doesn't have more headroom. Since this is the 77 kWh variant, there are only 4 seats. The larger batteries are over 100 kg heavier and the car weighs 1933 kg. That is what much larger internal combustion engine cars and SUVs tend to weigh, and also the Tesla Model Y. There are door pockets, an armrest with cup holders, and a ski hatch. A couple of pockets in the front seat backs, 2 USB-C ports, but no air vents.
In the front there are also no clearly visible changes, as all the magic is in the new software. Indeed, the mere thought of having to deal with software in new VW models and the ID range in particular Oh, I get shivers and not the exciting ones. Let me put it this way, the bar was set so low that if we were playing limbo, we'd have to use shovels. VW had 4 years to improve things, and it did. The ID software 3.5 hardly ever lags, and I only had to reset the system once, but that was because Android Auto wasn't working. I've also seen the ID software 4.0 in ID.7, and I know the future is looking bright. Now, as far as new features are concerned, there is a 360 camera, finally. See? There it is.
Other than that, it's like the pre-facelift. Large door pockets, a headlight panel on the left side of the steering wheel, a small display in front of the driver with an integrated drive selector, an infotainment system display with a touch slider for temperature and volume, touch buttons for shortcuts to the most important vehicle functions, cup holders, storage between the seats. The seats have individual armrests, Isofix on the front passenger seat, an average-sized glove box. Like in Tesla, also in the IDE models, you don't need a start button, although there is one just in case. All you have to do is press the brake and select Drive.
Speaking of similarities to Tesla, Volkswagen also offers an app, but it has very limited functionality. You can set air conditioning, check the car's location and the battery level, but the VW app won't let you open the car, let alone start it. The battery capacity is also similar. The Tesla Model Y long range has a 75 kilowatt-hour battery. Now it's most likely around 80 kilowatt hours, but Tesla doesn't tell us exactly. So anyway, ID.3 Pro S with a 77 kilowatt hour traction battery should offer similar performance.
The 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration time of 7.9 seconds is about the same as in the Tesla Model Y in regular mode. In sport mode, the ID.3 sprints to 100 km per hour in 7.6 seconds, which is the same as in the Cupra Born. Theoretically, the Born can be significantly quicker, but only under very specific conditions. Energy consumption? Volkswagen promises just under 16 kWh per 100 km in the combined cycle, and this is achievable. The claimed range is up to 546 km, again comparable to Tesla, and like the Tesla, here too in real-world use, we're talking about 400-450 km in the city, 300-350 km on the motorway.
I took the ID.3 on a road trip some 350 kilometers one way. I stopped once on a 100 kilowatt charger. It was a 10-minute toilet break, not really a range issue. I knew there were several charging locations in the vicinity of the hotel, including the one in the hotel parking lot. And as expected, there was a problem with that particular charger, and not just because of some technical issue. When we arrived, the parking spots next to the charger, as well as 5 other parking spots, were taped off because a coach was supposed to park there. I must have manifested my disbelief quite bluntly because the tape was removed and ultimately the coach parked in places reserved for taxi cabs.
The ID.3 Pro S can take up to 170 kilowatts on a DC charger or up to 11 kilowatts from an AC socket. At speeds up to 120 km per hour, energy consumption settles at 19 kilowatt hours per 100 km. Above that speed, it quickly exceeds 20 kilowatt hours. We're talking warm summer days. In the winter, your mileage is bound to be worse, as I experienced in the Cupra Born. There, even in city driving in winter, I was approaching 20 kilowatt hours. Something that Volkswagen does well, unlike for example Hyundai, Kia or Nissan, is route planning with charging. I know if charging along their way will be needed. If the road conditions change, the charging information changes dynamically. I know where and how long I will charge, and it really works.
Around the city, the ID.3 is very maneuverable, and on the motorway, the driver assistance systems work great. Despite the high weight and 20-inch rims, the car is relatively comfortable and is generally relatively pleasant to drive. I emphasize relatively because it so happened that at the same time I was testing the Alfa Romeo Tonale. And imagine what I think about the Alfa, since I prefer to take an EV on a 700 plus kilometer road trip.
The facelifted VW ID.3 prices start at €40,000 for the Pro model with a 58 kWh battery and 204 horsepower. The Pro S 4-seater with a 77 kWh battery starts at €47,600, about £5,000 jump since the launch of the pre-facelift model. This test car with options costs €54,000.
In Europe, Volkswagen has a big advantage over Tesla, a dense dealer and service network. However, Tesla is very price competitive and it appeals to non-fleet buyers. Having driven the ID.3 again, am I ready to jump on the EV bandwagon? Not yet, but after a very bad first impression a few years ago, now at least I see a significant improvement. Or my expectations have dropped because I still think peak Volkswagen was the Golf Mark 7. And what do you think about the Volkswagen ID.3? Are you ready to ditch your Golf? Perhaps you prefer a Tesla or a different EV? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.